Breaking news out of Washington. Kyle Allen was named the starting quarterback. 2019 first overall pick Dwayne Haskins, he goes to the bench. Now this also means that Alex Smith, who suffered a gruesome leg injury back in November of 2018, is listed as the backup quarterback. Well, we are joined again by our NFL insider, Jonathan Jones. When we first found out the news, I looked at you and I said, oh my goodness, Washington benching Dwayne Haskins, Kyle Allen, the starter, and you also were surprised at this.
Yeah, I was surprised just because of the game that Dwayne Haskins had last week against the Baltimore Ravens. He had a quarterback rating of above 90. This was actually, I think, his best game played. You go back, you look at it, it wasn't a bunch of garbage time stats either. Like, he was fairly consistent throughout the game. He was able to throw the ball down the field against the Ravens, and, you know, he has not been very good throwing the ball 15-plus yards down the field throughout this season. A couple of interceptions, a couple of touchdowns, a whole bunch of incompletions, but he actually did okay last week. 2 for 5 throwing the ball down the field, and you know, the Ravens were always in control of that game, but I still liked what Haskins did. However, look, it's really unfair for Dwayne Haskins to go through what he's gone through in his young NFL career, right? He's now on his 3rd coach because Washington, of course, had an interim last year. He's on however many offensive coordinators that he's had. He had no off-season work, all of those things. But it's very clear that the Washington football team, head coach Ron Rivera, they just don't. They wanted to believe in Dwayne Haskins. They've given him a number of opportunities. They believed in his work in the offseason. Training camp, they wanted to light a fire under him. They wanted to do right by Alex Smith and say there was somewhat of a competition, even though there really wasn't. And now through 4 games, they just haven't seen enough of him in their offense to push forward. And so they're pressing the eject button. And I know that they're pressing the eject button because the Washington football team is likely not going to keep 3 quarterbacks active on Sunday against the Los Angeles Rams. And so when you have Kyle Allen starting, when you have Alex Smith as a backup, not only is Dwayne Haskins going from a career game to the bench, but he may not even dress Sunday against the Rams.
And I want to ask you here, Ron Rivera has a connection to Kyle Allen from when they both were in Charlotte. Considering maybe that Dwayne isn't Coach Rivera's guy, as it were, are you seeing that connection with Coach Rivera and Allen being a reason he maybe feels comfortable moving forward with him at this point? Absolutely.
I mean, they traded, I believe it was a 5th-round draft pick in order to get Kyle Allen in the offseason. They wanted to get a guy, especially with no offseason work, they wanted to get a guy who would know Scott Turner's system. Obviously, the first-year offensive coordinator there. Took over for his father in Carolina when he was let go, became the offensive coordinator and the play caller there. And so it is not a surprise that they're going with Kyle Allen over an Alex Smith, both for familiarity with the system as well as overall health. We know that Alex Smith has obviously been cleared for contact, has been practicing. Clearly he's good enough to go out there and play, because you don't have a guy active if he's not going to be able to play in that game on Sunday. I didn't see enough out of Kyle Allen to really warrant trading for him in the offseason. He was an objectively below average quarterback. One, you know, could arguably say that he was a bad quarterback. Really struggled throwing the ball down the field. This should be pretty good for Antonio Gibson, because the Washington football team clearly wants him to be in a Christian McCaffrey role. That's the player on whom Kyle Allen relied the most when he was at the helm in Carolina. So I can see that working out. Maybe getting to the tight end, but if you wanted more deep field passing threats and Dwayne Haskins wasn't getting it for you, he wasn't spreading the ball down the field and really sort of stressing the defense, Kyle Allen will throw the ball down there. I don't know if he's going to connect with a wide receiver.
Well, yeah, a lot to look forward to, I guess, with this latest change. But this does spark the question, what's next for Dwayne Haskins? He's a 1st-round pick, but as we said it, 13 NFL appearances, 3 different head coaches, and throw in a COVID preseason where he didn't get any time to work with Coach Rivera in his system. Is he riding the bench for the foreseeable future for you in Washington? Where does he go from here?
It's difficult for the young man, because you make a move like this, especially if he's not going to be the backup and really have no chance of getting in against the Rams. If this is performance related, which all indications are that it is, I don't know when you play him again. I mean, he's coming off a career game, and you bench him and you make him inactive the next week. So that's concerning for his future prospects in Washington. Obviously, this this was a guy that Dan Snyder really liked when he was drafted. And, you know, he was making progress at the end of last season. I kept talking about the little steps that he was making. They were just little steps. Lamar Jackson took huge steps from year 1 to year 2. We've not seen that with Dwayne Haskins. Now, I know a lot of people are going to look around and say, okay, Dwayne Haskins, all this adversity, all these coaches, different systems, no offseason. Why is he getting the plug pulled on him, but Daniel Jones is still out here running around, not throwing touchdowns for the New York Giants? What about Sam Darnold? You know, you can insert whomever you want in there. If you think that you have a clunker at quarterback, you should pull the plug as quickly as possible. And so I'm not saying that it's fair necessarily to Dwayne when you compare it to everyone else, but clearly Washington does not have much confidence left in Dwayne Haskins, and so they're pulling the plug. And you can look back at any number of teams in the history of the NFL who should have pulled the plug earlier on quarterbacks. Clearly Cincinnati is very happy that they have Joe Burrow, the face of the franchise, but it's tough to argue that they shouldn't have gone out, 3 years ago and gotten rid of Andy Dalton. You look at the Chicago Bears, how they stubbornly stuck with Mitch Trubisky, and now they're on to Nick Foles. The list goes on and on. But you look at an Arizona, for example, who, all right, we drafted Josh Rosen with the number 10 overall pick. 1 year later, we get Kyler Murray. Josh Rosen, all right, sorry, we didn't get much for you in the trade, but that's that for us. If you think that you have a clunker, you got to pull the plug. Again, not necessarily fair to Dwayne. I'm not calling him a clunker. I think that he's too young in the NFL for anyone to make any sort of positive determination one way or the other about his future NFL prospects. But clearly, Washington and the powers that be there no longer believe or have confidence in his play on the field. That's why we're seeing this move.
I wasn't totally shocked hearing that Dwayne Haskins no longer the starter in Washington, considering his performance. But the point that jumped out the most to me with this news is the fact that Alex Smith is the backup. I used to cover this team the last 3 seasons, and I was there when he had that gruesome leg injury. We've all followed the story of he almost lost his life here. To think that he might be back out there on the football field now, almost, I guess, 2 years. Is that surprising to you? Do you feel it's too soon? I mean, it's shocking to think he could be out there taking a snap in an NFL game again.
It is truly shocking, understanding and knowing what he went through. It's a hell of a comeback story. There's no doubt about it. And I think a number of people had said it before me that even if he doesn't play a snap, he could be the comeback player of the year because his comeback is on such a different tier than everyone else. This is not elbow surgery for Ben Roethlisberger. This isn't the shoulder or the foot for Cam Newton. This is, you mentioned it, he could have lost his leg, he could have lost his life, and it was very, very serious. It was, if you watch the documentary, touch and go there for Alex Smith. And so it's impressive that he has made this comeback. It's heartening that he wants to do this for both himself and his family, obviously his fans. I'll be honest, it's still concerning. I don't feel comfortable watching him out there, watching him play and seeing the sleeve on his leg and wondering, okay, is he walking exactly right? And I don't feel great as a human, watching him go out there and thinking that he's going to go play and have guys diving at his legs. They play the Rams, right? I mean, Aaron Donald coming at him. All's fair out there on the football field. They put him on the football field. Okay, you're going to get hit like everybody else. That does concern me, but in terms of what a story it is, and hopefully I pray that he's 100% healthy and it's like it never happened. But it's a hell of a comeback story, and I think even if he does not play at all this season, he's my comeback player of the year, no doubt.
It would be truly an incredible story, but a lot to look forward to with Kyle Allen now taking over the starting quarterback position in Washington. They're slated to play the Rams at 1 p.m. on Sunday. Jonathan Jones, we appreciate your insight. And let's take a look now at the season notes for Washington. They lost 3 straight games after winning Week 1 against the Eagles. Dwayne Haskins been sacked 3 times in each game, and that's combined 6 sacks in the next 3 games after 8 sacks in Week 1. Now Dwayne 29th in NFL in passer rating this season.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.